It's a Monday, and I'm going to introduce you to Judith, who didn't start drinking until she was 29. It's today, Recovery Monday.
I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. That I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed.
It is the 10th day of March in the Lord's year 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Monday edition of Recovery Monday, brought to you by the good folks at Powell CDC. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, my co-host today, along with, of course, Ryan in the production room, and then Bob, where's Lila?
She must be wearing a lot of green today because I can't see her.
I can't see her either. She's completely Lila, are you there? Lila? Well, I guess she's late. I don't think she's ever been late before.
No.
Hope nothing happened.
It's probably the weather.
Yeah, she's out there dancing in the sunlight. Well, let's assume nothing terrible happened and she's just going to walk in late. Let's make sure we make fun of her.
Okay.
Big time. What should we call her today? We'll call her something. Miss Smarty? Lady Pants? No, that's not right. We'll come up with something. And, of course, this program brought to you by the good folks at Powell CDC. If you are ever in need for yourself or a loved one in that time of need, that voice of stability, make sure that Powell CDC is one of the places you could call. You could call Lila, but she might not be there because she's late a lot. But there's a lot of other good counselors down there that you can talk to. All right, today I want to introduce you to a wonderful woman. Her name is Judith. And Judith has been sober since the 8th day of October of 2012. So a little over a year and a half. Is that right? And welcome, Judith. Nice to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you didn't start drinking until you were 29 years old. Mm-hmm. And tell me about your family life. Why wasn't alcohol a part of you growing up or as a high school senior at the prom or something like that?
Well, to start with, I grew up with it. My mother is Dutch, and my father was German, and he was a minister in the Dutch Reformed Church, and my mother taught classical piano. I moved 4 times as a child.
Following your father's calling into churches?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. I have. He served churches in Pella, in Wisconsin, North Dakota, and then when we were in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he always suffered heart issues, and he was one of the very first in 1960 to have open heart surgery to repair a valve at Butterworth Hospital in Grand Rapids, Michigan. But a few months later, he passed away.
Oh.
And then my mother loved Pella and moved my sister and I to Pella. And that's where I finished out my school years. Family members never drank. My dad's side of the family never drank. Granted, when my mother took my sister and I in the summers to visit her family in Holland, they did drink a lot. But my mother never consumed alcohol. And being a youngster, I just didn't know what it was. So really didn't know what alcohol was. I lived a very protective life in growing up in Pella. I didn't really hang out with any friends that drank either, so I was never introduced, never went out. They did that in Pella. I just wasn't part of that.
Weren't part of that.
I just wasn't part of it.
Now, did you go to college?
I went to college for a semester and flunked out.
Okay.
I was more interested in finding a guy.
Okay.
Also, I was very much into the civil rights movement, and just on a whim, I'd jump in a car with strangers and drive all the way like down to Selma, Alabama to march, and then drive straight back, giving my poor mother a heart attack.
Sure.
Today, of course, you could never think of doing that. But back then, you just trusted everybody.
Sure. Now, would you call yourself a free spirit back then?
Oh, very much so. Very much a free spirit. I went to Grinnell College to burn my bra, for the feminist movement.
Sure.
I marched against the Vietnam War.
Well, now, You must have smoked a little dope or
No.
dropped some acid or
Never
nothing.
did.
But you were
Nothing.
around all that.
I was around it, but people never offered it to me,
okay.
and I never asked for it.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, I believe you.
Yeah,
I believe you.
So I really didn't know. I really was not introduced to alcohol until I met my husband when I was 29 years old.
So you what did you do from the time you got out of your one semester of college and you met your husband? Because that was, I'm assuming that was 9-10 years.
Yes, I was married twice.
Okay.
I ran off with a graduate of Central College to join his family and life in New Jersey. So I lived out there for quite a while in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and commuted into New York and worked there in an office position and so forth. And then he wanted to end the marriage, and I came home. In my dad's side of the family, particularly, and in Pella, divorce was unheard of.
Sure, because this was what year?
This was back in 1972.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so,
You know, it's interesting. And tell me if you find this correct. What divorce was to the church in 1970, gay marriage is to the church in the 21st century.
yes, exactly.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was the very first on either side of the family to
To get
have a
divorced.
divorce, and there was a lot of shame and a lot of hurt. For example, when I married my first husband, I had the traditional big church wedding in Pella and the big church and everything. And my cousins on my dad's side all served as my personal attendants
Sure.
for the wedding. Came down from South Dakota, Montana, and so forth. I was the first one of cousins. There were 5 of us, all within just a few months age-wise and so forth. But then when I came back to Iowa as a divorced woman, I wasn't invited to any of their weddings. They were too ashamed to have me come. My mother was invited. My younger sister was invited. But I wasn't invited because
Wow.
there was so much shame. That I internalized as so painful, that rejection.
Sure. Oh,
That
absolutely.
rejection. And then I entered in a rebound in another marriage, and that only lasted a couple of years. And then I was a free spirit for a few years, just doing office work and so forth, when I met my late husband in a ballroom dancing class. And he was a good dancer, and he
Yeah?
introduced me to downhill skiing, and he was as active as I was. And so we were together for almost 34 years before he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was your soulmate.
Yeah, he was.
All right. So you you didn't drink in either of the previous marriages.
There was no alcohol present in any of those former 2 marriages.
All right. So when did you? So you were 29 years old. All right. And I have to ask you this.
Sure.
How old are you now?
I'm 65.
65. Okay. You don't look 65. You look
Oh, well,
like
thank you.
45.
You made my day.
You don't look 65. So you 29, 30. So you drank for 34 years?
Not really. I had some time off from drinking.
Okay, good.
I was introduced to alcohol when I married into my husband's family, because they did drink wine with their meals and always had a cocktail hour beforehand. And so I did drink, unfortunately. But then 2 things that occurred in my life at the same time, that I dropped out of drinking. First of all, when I found out in our 30s that my late husband and I couldn't have children, my world was devastated, because I thought I was going to be this great mother, have all these kids, the traditional
Sure.
role of a female
Yeah.
that I grew up knowing.
Sure.
And it never happened. It just never happened. And I can remember a social worker, because we were trying to adopt, and we were continually turned down because my late husband was a brittle diabetic.
Okay.
And so for health reasons, he couldn't pass the physical. And we kept getting turned down. And finally, this social worker was talking to me, and she says, okay, you can't have children. What would be your second goal in life? And I said, God, I wish I hadn't screwed up when I was 18 and would have obtained that college degree. And that's when she said, go for it, Judith. It's never too late. And I said, well, I'm too old to go back to college. And she said, yes, you can. Go. And so I thought about it for months. And then suddenly, the job I was working at a printing company was being eliminated. And the Friday that I got off work, I walked into DMAC and I said, sign me up for 5 classes and I'll write a check on the spot so I don't change my mind over the weekend because classes would start the following Monday.
Yeah.
Then I went home. Nobody knew this. I went home, called my mother, told her what I did, and of course, she had a master's degree in music education right on. She was really excited about it. Then I told my husband, and it was just like, you got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. And then my in-laws were very angry with me. My late husband had been married just a short time before I ever met him, and he had 2 very, very young children paying child support. They felt it was very selfish on my part to go to school full time, and not work. And so for a whole year, my mother-in-law would cut out the ads in the paper for secretaries and office work and mail them. And I'd receive them in the Tuesday mail every week. Then as I got through with DMAC, my grades were so high that Drake recruited me. And I got a major presidential scholarship to Drake.
Good.
And then I was a graduate assistant. I kept going as far as I could. And I was able to walk out of Drake after 8 years of college without a single loan, just by doing scholarships, graduate assistantships, and so forth.
Good for you.
Yeah, and then...
Did that shut your mother-in-law up?
Yeah, eventually it did.
Okay.
She gave up on it, yeah. And they were very proud of the degrees, but in the beginning they thought it was very selfish of me. Then at the same time, I had lost a lot of weight because I was very overweight and started to get more health conscious. And so to keep the weight off, I started running. And people started noticing me when I would enter 5Ks, 10Ks and say, wow, those little legs of yours, they just roll over fast, And a trainer came forward and said, for so much money a month, can I train you to do marathons and, dam to dam, long races? And so for 5 years, I didn't drink at all. I was so busy running and training at 50, 60 miles a week and being so involved in the running community. And I won everything in the master's group because at this point I was 40 and above.
Okay.
Until an injury took that out of my life. I ruptured a hamstring and had surgery, rehab to learn to walk again, and told never to run again. I think the depression of not being able to run was kind of an excuse to drink a little more. And then Dan got very involved with a wine club, and so we did trips to California, to France on wine tours. And while everybody else is sniffing the wine and enjoying it, I'm behind the scenes just gulping one glass after another, not knowing that I was an alcoholic.
My guest today is Judith, and she has been sober a year and a half and went through Powell, and she is here to share some of that story. Now, for those of you watching, put the camera back on Judith. For those of you watching, you will notice to her left, what's his name again?
Her name's Bella.
Bella. Hi, Bella. She is the most beautiful,
service dog. She's a standard poodle.
Standard poodle who's a service dog.
Yeah.
And so you see her bouncing around, and she's just the precious thing.
Say hi, Bella.
Can you speak? Woof. Woof.
Woof.
Woof. Well, we're not speaking at this
We're
point.
not speaking, sorry.
And Lila's still MIA, so we'll find out what's going on. We're live here on Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC on 99.3 KTIA, powered by webcast1live.com.
father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Minutes after the hour on this 11th day or 10th day of March in 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy. This is Powell CDC's Recovery Monday, which is heard every Monday at this time across the web and locally on 99.3 KTIA. And you can always go to my website, which is McCoy, MCKOY, MacMcCoy.com. Click on Recovery Mondays, and there are our previous year's worth of shows. I got a hold of Lila. No one had changed the clock in her office, so she still thought it was a little after 2 o'clock.
It's a very good excuse, I have to admit.
Well, and I know she was genuine because I called and I said, "Hi, how are you?" "Good, how are you?" "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just sitting here." "What are you doing?" "I'm doing a live show." "Oh, my gosh." So I would imagine she'll rush in at some time.
Wow.
But that's nice. She's a great lady. Our guest today is Judith Mueller, and Judith is 65 years young and has been sober for a little over a year and a half. Started drinking at 29, and Judith and I shared a little bit before. That's much my same story. I didn't drink till I was 34 years old. You know, but different from you. I was surrounded by it. I was raised in what I would call a highbrow alcoholic home, and many alcoholics around me. But we were upper class, okay, small town upper class, and so we didn't have any of the consequences that so many people face when alcoholism strikes their family, because we always had doctors and we all just never thought about it. And in fact, it wasn't until I remember I was probably a freshman or junior in college that I called our family doctor one day Dr. Frericks, and I said, I think my mother might be an alcoholic. Would you check into this? Oh, no. I've known your mother for ages. She's just fine. And about 10, 12 years later, I was at something in my hometown, and he ran into me, and he said, I need to apologize. I didn't do my job. I was more covering for your mother than I was being honest. You were, a teenager, and I didn't think I should bring that into the house. So anyway, so there's a lot of late bloomers.
Yes.
But you feel that you're alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know I'm an alcoholic.
Okay.
I didn't know it when I was 29.
Frank? Yeah, we're going to... can you put those headphones on?
Yeah.
We got a call here from Frank, and Frank always calls us, and we appreciate... Frank, you're live on the radio. How you doing, Frank?
Good. Thanks for taking my call.
Good. We're not talking about politics or religion. What could you have to say?
Alcoholism.
Oh, okay.
I heard on another radio program, it's been a couple years ago, that the guest was on there was actually espousing the view that drinking teaches moderation. And I would like to suggest to you and see if Judith agrees that many alcoholic has attended the schools of moderate drinking.
Okay. Are you listening?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you want me to answer that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you mean moderate drinking like when I was drinking on wine tours and going out to eat and thinking I could handle it?
Well, without advocating prohibition, in this society, I guess the guy on the talk show was trying to put forth the view that we're teaching ourselves moderation. But I'm suggesting to you that even involving yourself for the most people, even involving themselves in moderate drinking is schooling yourself to become an alcoholic.
For me it was, but my family, my husband's family, and my husband included, were those normal drinkers. I never saw them drunk. When my late husband drank wine or had a drink or a cocktail, he would sip it, put it down, and walk away. Me being the alcoholic, hey, I got to finish it, plus yours.
Right.
These were the characteristics in me. And that's why I know that I can never take that risk to ever have another drink again, because I can't stop with one drink like a normal person can.
Well, I take my cues from the Savior when he was dying on the cross, and he was offered a concoction of wine and an opiate called vinegar, and he soundly rejected it, and I think he defeated alcoholism on the cross for anyone who wants to claim the victory. Mm-hmm. And I would simply say that he did not want, of course, he had a mission unlike anybody that's here on earth, but he did not want to becloud his senses. He could have called down 10,000 angels to assist him. He could have had retribution against those people that was mocking and ridiculing him. And he did not want to becloud his mind. So I would simply put forth to anybody who's out there thinking that you can play around with alcohol and you can moderately drink and not be educated on your way to alcoholism, I think is folly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Frank, I appreciate it.
Yep. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. All right. So you quit alcohol, became a runner.
I became a runner, and then my teaching positions I enjoyed immensely. And so I really didn't drink that much when I was teaching. I had responsibilities with that job. Now, occasionally I did drink, but it didn't really interfere. But when I had over 6 years ago, going on 7 years ago, I had so much pressure on me. I had my mother who fell and broke her hip, which accelerated her Alzheimer's and had to be put into a nursing home. The same year, my late husband, he was just only 9 months away from retirement and looking forward to it, had a paralyzing stroke where he was hospitalized for months, never recovered enough to be able to come home, and ended up going to a nursing home where he later died. I had to file, bankruptcy. I had to file for divorce in order to get Title 19 for him, all the things that I did not want to do, plus continue driving 3 hours round trip to teach down at Southwestern Community College in Creston. And everything folded in on me, and that's when I was discovered in my bed. I guess they said that I was in bed for over 3 days, and I had had a stroke. I was in complete renal failure and had some paralysis on the right side of my body, and therefore the social worker thought, we don't know what your prognosis is going to be, Judith, so let's file for disability, which took about a year or more before I got on that. And then when my late husband passed away, then I also got his pension and so forth. And that's what I've been living off ever since. But with all that said and done, I was not coping well. I gave up. Life wasn't worth living. And I was on so much medication, and I was bothered by a lot of anxiety and panic after having that stroke. Plus, I was dealing with a seizure disorder from the stroke that I was so doped up with medication that a psychiatrist and a neurologist diagnosed me as having Alzheimer's.
And how old are you now at this time?
At this time, that was just about 60. I was about 60 years old.
Okay, so about 5 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. And I gave up. I isolated at home, let my friends drift away, and decided that this was it. I'm going to just marry the bottle, and drank. And then I had an OWI and lost my driver's license for a year. Got it back 2 months later, and then had a major seizure. And of course broke my probation with DOT and lost my license for another year. At the same time, because I thought I was headed into a nursing home anytime soon, I wanted to live out my years, spend down my money totally, and do one big thrill trip, and that was I wanted to hike and study with an educational group in Bhutan. And I was scheduled to leave on that trip, and something was eating away, in my brain, that being at that altitude, hiking those miles, taking data from village to village, and no alcohol present because Bhutan is 99.99% Buddhist. Alcohol is not,
Anyway,
that I was going to detox. And that's when I called Lori at Powell and said, I have to detox in 48 hours. And that's when she said, it can't be done, Judith. And then I thought about it and thought about it. Instead of getting on the plane on the long trip to the Himalayas, instead I made the choice to enter Powell, which is the best thing I could have ever done for myself.
Yeah.
But I had, moments in my life after meeting my husband when I didn't drink. But it seems like I turned to alcohol as a means of coping with the inevitable. I thought I was going to end up in a nursing home and dying like my mother. I knew what Alzheimer's was all about.
Yeah.
And I had a 50-50 chance of having Alzheimer's because of genetics.
Yeah.
So I just thought I might as well just drink my life away.
Sure, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
And isolated. But life really turned around for me. And then to find out that I was misdiagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it's like living life now all over.
Yeah, you got a new lease on life.
A new lease.
Judith, when you drank, what did you drink? Were you wine, beer, hard liquor?
Yeah, I love my beer. I love my wines. And for me, Matt, that if I'm cooking something, I have to have a bottle of wine with it, as well as maybe a bottle of wine while I'm cooking.
Yeah.
And then when I'm out socializing in bars, then I like, drinks with vodka, or just vodka with a little bit of water, or seltzer, or bourbon.
Now, help me. where are you drinking in bars at age 55? Where were you? Where did you go? You were a classy, sophisticated lady. Were you down at the Skipper, or where did you go?
I still went to nice places. I did not hang out at
Low bottom bars.
You got that. I'm
Okay.
glad you said that.
Okay.
But it was an excuse to go into a restaurant and eat. Hi, Lila, welcome. It was an excuse to go in to eat, but really in reality, it was how much can I drink?
So you'd go to Christopher's?
Yes.
Or Mazzotti's?
Yes.
Or...
And the places here on Court Avenue I really liked and so forth. Chuck's. Oh,
okay,
Chuck.
sure.
That was my late husband's family hangout because they grew up in Oak Park.
Okay.
And so they'd see me there at the bar. And, of course, I ordered that pizza, but I had a lot of beer with it.
Sure,
you know.
Our guest today is Judith Mueller, and she has been sober since the 8th day of October of 2012, and it's just a delight getting to know her. And we'd like to now welcome Lila, who is no longer on daylight savings time. Or are we on daylight savings time?
Daylight savings.
Yeah, so you weren't on daylight savings time. So what, you just didn't change the clock?
They didn't change them anywhere in the hospital. I got to blame it on somebody. But even in my office, I didn't. I have a watch on that does tell the right time, but I was so in the moment. I was learning to live in the moment.
Good.
Just was in the wrong moment.
All right. Well, we're going to take our next break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Judith about what finally happened around that October 8th day 2 years ago that made her put the plug in the jug and go to Powell and get well and now have such a wonderful story to share. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on 99.3 KTIA, powered by webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's got to be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
If you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? You can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
22 before the top on this 10th day of March, and we appreciate you being here. Judith is here, and Judith has been sober since the 8th day of October of 2012, and we are just having the conversation. I closed my book and lost my page. We are having the conversation about what brought her to the point that she decided she didn't want to drink anymore because, I mean, you were never what we would call a low-bottom drunk, right? I mean, did you ever drink to black out?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes?
At home.
At home. So they wouldn't carry you out of the bar. You go home to the bar, and then you'd finish up your,
Exactly.
I can resemble that remark, too. All right. I'm not going to find your page. I'm going to remember everything that I said. You were sober on the 8th day of October in 12.
Yep.
You didn't drink till you were 29, and you're 65 now.
Yes.
All right. So you're going to go on this big trip. This, can we call it a bucket list trip?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you got it.
You were just going to drink until you died?
Yep.
You thought you had Alzheimer's. You watched your mother go through that and pass through, so you didn't want to do that. You were ready to go on a Himalayan 3-week vacation.
Yeah.
You figured out they didn't have alcohol. You needed to detox. They couldn't detox you. You stayed home from the trip, but you detoxed anyway.
Yes, I did. I entered Powell.
And tell me what that experience at Powell was like.
Wow. I had a counselor by the name of Deb, and she reminds me when I run into her that I was in pretty poor shape when I came in. I didn't know who I was. I couldn't think. I couldn't process information. My memory was gone. Dr. Weiss, she says Dr. Weiss in a meeting with her said, we're just going to sober her up to get her into a nursing home. And that's what he basically said to me, too. But the meds that I was on, I was taken off of them, as well as detoxing from alcohol. And the 5th day I was hospitalized, I was able to carry on a conversation with him like we are right now.
Okay.
And right away, he just stared at me, and he says, Judith, I don't think you have Alzheimer's. And as I kept recovering, I was inpatient for 10 days, outpatient for about 2 weeks. More was revealed about my memory. Things were coming back, and everybody was amazed. He was amazed. So we made arrangements for me to be retested by a neurologist in January, where I had hours of cognitive tests, more brain scans, blood work to see if there was dementia. And finally, all the results came back that I was above average in all the memory tests, intelligence tests, nothing in the brain scan, nothing in the blood work. And so Alzheimer's has been taken off of my diagnosis. And it was like a freedom was lifted for me that now I have a second chance at my life and living out my final years with integrity and to be happy, joyous, and free.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Do you sponsor other women?
I haven't yet, and it's probably because I'm still working on me.
Sure.
I feel that I am emotionally retarded.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I feel that due to the strict environment I grew up in and my lack of self-esteem, and I'm a people pleaser, that when I tend to be passive aggressive, I tend to be all over the place with my feelings, that I have a lot of growing up to do to catch up on my emotional maturity. I'm working with a great sponsor. I have a lot of friends in AA. I attend AA meetings. I test the waters all the time because I'm involved in my church functions, volunteer work. I'm enrolled in a graduate class with one of my advisors in grad school in the psych department that I'm really enjoying. I'm just doing that class because the topic interests me and it proves that I can still research and write.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And I'm involved at the gym, working out aerobically every day, lifting weights, all those things that I couldn't do in those 5 years living under the diagnosis of Alzheimer's and drinking myself until I passed out at night.
Because and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but basically you were sure between the alcoholism and the Alzheimer's, and then the stroke that you had, along with the, you said you had...
the meds?
Yeah. Seizures.
Yes, the seizures.
That you were just waiting to die.
Yeah. I had
no
given
children,
up, no
husband
children.
gone.
Yeah.
Is your sister still living?
My sister's still living. We are not very close.
Okay.
And she married very late in life, so she has no children, so I have no nieces and nephews.
Wow.
And the closest relatives are still up in South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming. Or on my mother's side, there's nobody left on my mother's side, so it'd be in Holland.
Wow.
Yeah, that I have distant cousins left.
So is it fair to say that your family is your recovery family?
Yes.
And your church family?
Very much so, because I was very lonely. That was part of the reason why I drank too. Very, very lonely.
You didn't have that good-looking puppy there at that time?
I got her I got her a few months before I went into Powell, and she'll turn 2 years old next week. So I haven't had her that long.
Are we going to have a birthday party for her?
I shouldn't I? I should go to a doggy store and get her a birthday cake, right? Yeah.
Well, they have that doggy ranch out there on Highway 144 where you could take her.
Yes.
So, and for those of you watching, her pretty little redhead, right there, you can see it just kind of peeks up. And can we speak? Woof, woof.
I think they're taught not to.
Woof.
What is it?
Hi, buddy.
Is that a crazy dog?
Hi, buddy. How are ya? He's such a handsome fellow. All right. Lila, this is an incredible story.
Yeah.
How many people do you have that come in over the age of 60? I mean, percentage-wise. I always think of Powell as basically a 25 to 40-year-old gig.
It is basically, but we have a few. Most of them, though, their families have brought them in. It's really hard to, or they think it's really hard to change after a certain age, and a lot of them aren't willing. They come because their families tell them to, but they think it's too hard to change. Judith made up her mind that she was going to change, and she's done everything to change and learn and grow.
Now, do you see yourself getting involved in the recovery world, like as a facilitator, or?
Sure.
I mean, you've got the education. Couldn't you probably just be a counselor?
My education was into teaching. I never went into the counseling. And so therefore I can't be licensed to be a counselor.
But you could, 1 year's worth of schooling, I imagine you could be?
Do you have a lot of psychology?
Yes.
Yeah, because my background is a master's in education. But I had enough psychology where I only had to take one class.
Yes.
And then 1,000 hours.
Of working over
internship.
Yeah.
But I enjoy volunteering.
Sure.
And once in a while I'm asked in Altoona to lead a meeting when somebody's going to miss. But like I said earlier, and I do pick, now that I'm driving again, I do pick up women to go to meetings.
Good.
But so far, people who've asked me to sponsor them, I've had to turn down because right now I'm working with a psychologist on growing emotionally.
Sure.
To help me deal with the emotions of living life. That's what I'm learning to do right now, is learning to live life. And once I feel more comfortable and I feel like God speaks to me or tells me it's time, then I will sponsor. But right now,
sure, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm working on my issues and trying to learn to grow.
Yeah.
Most people are, I mean, well, not most, all of them, are emotionally stuck at whatever age they started because you don't grow when you don't grow emotionally anyway.
Yeah,
exactly.
What are you thinking? All right, we're going to take our last break. Our guest is Judith Mueller, and her sobriety birthday is the 8th of October in 2012, coming up on a little over a year and a half now. And we've heard a lot about her life, what it was like and what happened. I'm real curious to hear about her dreams and her plans for the future. Lila Stafford in the house, Bob Montserrat, Ryan producing, and this is Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC on KTIA, Iowa.
mother who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Minutes for the top Salem Radio Network news at 4, and then, of course, it's Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue here on 99.3 KTIA. For those of you who enjoy, do you enjoy listening to Recovery Talk? Yeah, I think you probably do, for one reason or another. It might sadden you from time to time to hear the low bottom stories and the things that people have to go through before they're mugged by Jesus or whatever happens to them, that they decide that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Our national show is called Restoring Hope Live, and that is on from noon to 1 Central Time every Sunday on XM Sirius, the American Family Radio networks of 147 stations, and on this station that you're listening to, whether you're on the computer or on terrestrial radio, and we look forward to having you tune into that show too. Recovery Monday focuses on local people, your neighbors. Is it fair to say that you and I, Lila, are on the same page that we wish less people would be anonymous and they'd come out and they'd talk about recovery and make it a public issue?
Yeah, in that sense. I mean, I don't care. They don't have to tell their name or anything like that, but I wish more stories were out there. Yeah. So people could identify with them. Yeah, because as Judith and I were talking before you got here, even before we went on the air, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I just started asking around to a few people that I knew. And one Wednesday, a buddy of mine took me to a meeting where half of my peers were there. Mm-hmm. Judges, attorneys, highbrow businessmen, radio and TV guys. And it was at that moment that I realized that I could be anonymous. Mm-hmm. And then God reminded me about 90 days later that there was no anonymous for Mac, and that this was the life path that he was going to put me on to talk about my life and to talk about sobriety. And it's hard sometimes because there are people in our past, mm-hmm. we all have this, well, not you, Bob, but we all have this, where they don't believe us. They don't trust us. They don't believe it. Mm-hmm. They think this is a fad, a phase. Oh, you're just trying to get out of hot water with your wife or whatever. And I wonder how long a person has to go and be sober before those mistrusts disappear. My guess is never. Well, who cares? I mean, I have a sister who doesn't think that I'm alcoholic. She's made comments that I'm not really alcoholic. It's just I decided to do that since my husband was. But if, she would have to look at herself if she were to say I was an alcoholic, because we're pretty much the same kind. So
you think that's the reason why?
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to do it herself.
Right.
And, well, okay. Is she alcoholic? Not for you to say.
Yeah. You know what? I come from this thing. It really doesn't make any difference what you are. You can call it anything you want, but in some people like me, it took me a long time to say I was alcoholic. It's like if it's causing problems in your life, then you need to quit. Yeah. It's that simple. I don't care what you call it. The only reason they label it is so you can get help.
Yeah, right. Well, like what Judith said, I don't know if you were in the room when she said it, but she couldn't drink just one. And I think you said something about this used to drive me crazy. A half-empty glass left on the table.
Yeah, who could leave that?
Only to get thrown away? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Which made it really hard to be in the restaurant business because I can't be drinking other people's drinks. I mean, that won't work. But there were many times that I'm clearing tables in the restaurant business and I'm going, what?
Yeah.
Wow, what?
Yeah.
But anyway. So, and if I get this wrong, you tell me.
Okay.
You are 65.
Yes.
And inside you're 21.
That's the way I feel. I feel very young. If I feel like I'm catching up emotionally for all these years.
Yeah. Now, you and I talked off air beforehand about my borderline diagnosis. You're not borderline, but in a way, you and I have a similarity that we didn't really grow up emotionally, chronologically with our age.
Exactly.
We for me, I didn't really grow up emotionally till I was in my late 40s or early 50s.
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie Brown, what are you doing there? The dog is, what's her name again?
Bella.
Bella. Bella? Bella, you're such a pretty girl.
She's bored with us right
Is she?
now.
Can you speak?
No.
Bella? Bella?
Don't get her to do that because she's trained not to.
Oh. She was trying to get her to bark earlier.
Yeah,
Okay.
I tried, but
She doesn't do it. She's looking at something out there. So, there she goes. Thank you, Bella. So, do you have a bucket list then? Or do you even look at it that way?
well, first of all, I have to remind myself it's a day by day by day. I also, when I get up in the morning, thank God that I have this day. The past is behind me. I have a lot of shame about the things that I did under the influence of alcohol. But that's in the past. Tomorrow's a mystery. And today, God has given me a day that I can serve Him and be this kind, gentle person.
Okay. I'm gonna talk to you for just a second about shame.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think God is ashamed of you?
I think I used to think that,
Okay.
but today I don't.
Okay. So God loves you,
I feel that God loves me.
and He thinks you're spectacular,
Yes.
and you are the daughter of a risen King,
Yes.
and you are brilliant, and you are beautiful, and you are everything that He created you to be. Okay. So if you have shame, where does that come from? If it doesn't come from God, it comes from where?
From being judged by others and my putting so much emphasis in being liked and accepted by everybody.
Okay. Here's a theory. Try this one on.
Okay.
There is God's will, and there is everything else.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Everything else. If it's not of God, what is it of? It's of the accuser.
Yes.
Right? It's the darkness.
Yes.
There isn't any in between.
Right.
Okay. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So then who's making you feel shameful?
Me.
No. Who? The accuser.
Yeah.
Because you're living this incredible life with God now, sober, happy,
Yes.
helping other people.
Yeah.
Does the accuser like that? Not
Probably
at all.
not.
So he gives you something that we call shame, which pulls you away from God.
Yes.
Because what you're really saying is, God, I have to be ashamed of what I did because you couldn't love me that much.
Right.
But He does love you that much. He loves you perfectly as you are.
Yes.
So every time you feel shame, you're allowing yourself to be pulled from God. And you're living closer with Satan.
You're right.
And that's the church lady
Yeah.
for Monday,
Yes.
the 10th of March.
Yes.
Well, whenever I hear anybody telling me they suffer from shame, because I used to suffer from shame, being a borderline. And when I figured out where that shame come from, it doesn't come from me. I don't have anything. It's either God or it's nothing.
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, it's God or it's everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to allow the accuser
Right.
to tell me day after day that I'm not good enough.
Right.
Because God tells me day by day I am incredibly good enough.
Right. Right.
All right. My little soapbox. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
You
I
bet.
enjoyed this. Time went very fast.
Anytime. I told you had fun.
Yes.
Hey, Bella, you come back, okay, buddy?
Yeah.
Bella, you come back? Good boy. And Lila, good girl. You come back too, okay?
On time.
Yeah.
And Bob, see you later. Ryan, thanks for producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Until I see you again, do just one thing for me, would you? Just one? Pray.